Prologue. He knew any biographer would decide that the story of his life could be summarized by this. When Liam Samuel Noon began accruing his fortune, the first thing he did was buy a piece of land as far away from his hometown as he could possibly get. Of course, there were places technically farther from Midwood, Brooklyn, than the Central California coast. But Liam felt reborn the first time he arrived in Carpinteria. His pulse quieted, his chest released, a small yet seismic shift. He drove through the secluded beachside town in a haze, the world around him windy and soulful, cypress trees sweeping every which way, a messy canopy. Liam was in the early days of taking over the company, and he'd flown out west to meet with a potential investor. They were in discussions to build a boutique hotel together 8 miles up the road in Santa Barbara, a hillside retreat, private and luxurious, with 48 standalone cottages, winding mountain trails, outdoor fireplaces, and cobblestone walkways. A stone-wrapped restaurant. He was meeting with the investment partner, a former classmate named Ben, at Ben's oceanfront vacation home on Padaro Lane. They sat outside on the back deck, eating poached eggs and studying blueprints, Liam's suit no match for the chill coming in off the ocean. He drank extra coffee, refusing Ben's offer to borrow a coat. At some point, Liam looked east and spotted a cottage perched cliffside at Loon Point. It was lit up by the rising sun, the incandescent yellow ricocheting off the bluff front, landing on its white rock and citrus grove. The Rose Gardens. The property encompassed a large parcel of land, 5 exquisite acres, endless ocean views, the Santa Ynez foothills in the distance. An old woman lived in the one structure on the property, a craftsman bungalow, a white wooden sign by the front door with the bungalow's name, Windbreak. Liam knocked on the front door and asked her what she wanted for her home. She said she wanted to live there peacefully without people knocking on her door asking her what she wanted for her home. He smiled at her and apologized. "I can't afford it anyway," he said. Which was when she let him in. Now, more than 3 decades later, how can that much time just pass? He walks over to the northeast edge, his favorite vantage point, the ocean expansive beneath him, the ancient olive trees and the wind and the sharp breeze wild all around him. He takes a deep breath, swallows the tears pushing in from the back of his throat as he remembers that day. He isn't normally so nostalgic and has never been much for fantasy, but he feels himself doing it, pretending, again, that he is still that riled-up young man knocking on an old woman's door, wanting to start a new life. As opposed to the older man he now is, an empty house behind him, no one to answer how he'd gotten it wrong, how he'd ended up here, emotional and weary, but willing to say out loud, to finally say out loud, all the things he wished he could undo. It isn't regret, exactly. It isn't anything as cliched or inactive as regret. No, it is penance. That is why he keeps playing the moments back on an unforgiving loop, the moments he is trying to return to relive. The first moment at 18, then at 20, and 26, and 37, and 45, 58, 61, 68. In the ways that matter, it is all the same moment, isn't it? The same choice. You move toward your destiny, or you move away. He digs his feet into the white rock, a light rain starting to fall. When exactly did this place become a referendum on what he'd failed to do? It would be easy, and probably wrong, to name that shift as a recent occurrence. But however it happened, slowly and at once, Windbreak is now the place that reminds him of himself the most.